Celebrimbor has followed his grandfather Fëanor to Middle-earth, and after suffering many hardships he has survived the War of the Jewels. Now, along with many other elves, he is given a choice by the Valar, either to abandon Middle-earth for Valinor or to remain in the Hitherlands. Celebrimbor, like many known elves such as Galadriel and Celeborn, refuses to forsake Middle-earth. A large number of the Eldar that remain settle for a time in Lindon, the realm of Gil-galad, the High King of the Noldor. While it is reasonable to assume that Celebrimbor is among those elves, no clear statements are ever made by Tolkien about this matter. At some point, Celebrimbor becomes a great friend of Celeborn and Galadriel. Already at this time, he has fallen in love with Galadriel. As the years pass, news reaches the ears of the Noldor that Mithril, a precious metal, has been discovered in Khazad-dûm, or Moria as it will later be called, the greatest of the mansions of the dwarves in the history of Middle-earth. So around the year 750 of the Second Age, many of the Eldar cross the mountains of Ered-Luin and pass into the Inner Lands. Celebrimbor, along with a host consisted mainly of Noldor but of several Sindar as well, follows Galadriel and Celeborn to establish the Noldorin realm of Eregion. The realm is founded west of the Misty Mountains near the mines of Moria. There are conflicting texts in the works of Tolkien regarding who the ruler of Eregion actually is. Some interpretations suggest that the rulers of the realm are Galadriel and Celeborn, but others indicate that Celebrimbor becomes the lord of Eregion. Now in Eregion, Celebrimbor is most probably the one who names the metal found in Moria Mithril. He was a great silversmith and went to Eregion attracted by the rumors of the marvelous metal found in Moria, Moria silver, to which he gave the name Mithril. Soon the Noldor construct the mighty city of Ostinevil, the capital of Eregion, and Celebrimbor becomes the realm's chief craftsman. Between these elves and the dwarves of the neighboring realm, a great friendship arises. But the friendship that grew up between the people of Durin and the elven smiths of Eregion was the closest that there has ever been between the two races. Celebrimbor was lord of Eregion and the greatest of their craftsmen. He was descended from Fëanor. In Eregion, the elves formed the Gwaith-i-Mírdain, a fellowship of exceptional elven craftsmen, among whom Celebrimbor is the greatest. In Eregion, the craftsmen of the Gwaith-i-Mírdain, the people of the jewelsmiths, surpassed in cunning all that have ever wrought, save only Fëanor himself. And indeed greatest in skill among them was Celebrimbor, son of Curfin. Being an unparalleled craftsman, Celebrimbor has acquired some taint of pride, but also a deep obsession with crafts and the friendship of the dwarves. Celebrimbor had an almost dwarvish obsession with crafts, and he soon became the chief artificer of Eregion, entering into a close relationship with the dwarves of Khazad-dûm, among whom his greatest friend was Narvi. Both elves and dwarves had great profit from this association, so that Eregion became far stronger and Khazad-dûm far more beautiful than either would have done alone. Celebrimbor becomes exceedingly capable in the working of Mithril, his skill being comparable even to that of the dwarves. In the working of this, he became a rival of the dwarves, or rather an equal, for there was great friendship between the dwarves of Moria and Celebrimbor, and they shared their skills and craft secrets. Out of Mithril, the elves managed to create a substance called the Ithildin Moonstar. This alloy can only be seen by the reflected light of the moon and the stars, and the Gwaith-i-Mírdain uses it in many of its crafts. In later writings of the professor, we learn that in Eregion, thanks to Celebrimbor, the alphabet of Daeron, the minstrel of King Thingol of Doriath, is used along with Tengwar, the Fëanorian alphabet. Now in Eregion, not only the Fëanorian script, which had long become a mode of writing generally used with various adaptations among all lettered peoples in contact with the Númenorian settlements, but also the ancient runic alphabet of Daeron elaborated by the Sindar was known and used. This was no doubt due to the influence of Celebrimbor. It is also said that these runes of Daeron catch the fancy of the Dwarves of Khazad-dûm, and they adopt them for they find them more convenient to be carved on stone than Fëanor's alphabet. Now as the friendship between the elves and the dwarves grows stronger, a way that ensures possible traffic between Eregion and the Lords of Moria must be made accessible. So it is that Narvi the dwarf constructs the mighty doors of Durin which guard the west gate of the city of the dwarves, while Celebrimbor himself inlays decorative designs and writings on the stone of the doors. Among these is a single star, the emblem of the house of Celebrimbor's grandfather Fëanor. Now these signs are made of the aforementioned Ithildin, which makes the doors of Durin almost invisible to the eye, for even when mirroring starlight and moonlight Ithildin sleeps, until it is touched by someone who must speak certain magic words to make it appear. Speaking of Celebrimbor's renowned works, in the Unfinished Tales we find that in some versions of the story he makes a second Elessar for Galadriel's sake. The Elessar was made in Gondolin by Celebrimbor, and so came to Idril and so to Earendil, but that passed away. But the second Elessar was made also by Celebrimbor in Eregion, at the request of the Lady Galadriel whom he loved, and it was not under the one being made before Sauron rose again. In most accounts, Galadriel receives the original Elessar from Gandalf during the Third Age, the one made in the First Age either by Eärendil or Celebrimbor, and it is this one that she later gives to Aragorn in Lothlorien. But if we follow the other version, Galadriel receives the second Elessar made by Celebrimbor in Eregion during the Second Age. The other tale runs so, that long ago, ere Sauron deluded the smiths of Eregion, Galadriel came there, and she said to Celebrimbor, the chief of the elven smiths, "I am grieved in Middle-earth, for leaves fall and flowers fade that I have lost, so that the land of my dwelling is filled with regret that no spring can redress. How otherwise can it be for the Eldar if they cling to Middle-earth?" said Celebrimbor. "Will you then pass over sea? Nay, Angrod is gone, and Teignor is gone, and Felagund is no more. Of Finarfin's children I am the last, but my heart is still proud. What wrong did the golden house of Finarfin do that I should ask the pardon of the Valar, or be content with an isle in the sea whose native land was Saman the Blessed? Here I am mightier." "What would you then?" said Celebrimbor. "I would have trees and grass about me that do not die, here in the land that is mine," she answered. "What has become of the skill of the Eldar? Where now is the stone of Eärendil? And the Eärendil who made it is gone. They have passed over sea," said Galadriel, "with almost all fair things else, but must then Middle-earth fade and perish forever? That is its fate, I deem. But you know that I love you, though you turn to Celeborn of the trees, and for that love I will do what I can, if haply by my art your grief can be lessened." But he did not say to Galadriel that he himself was of Gondolin long ago and a friend of Eärendil, though his friend in most things outrivaled him. Yet if Eärendil had not been, then Celebrimbor would have been renowned. Therefore he took thought and began a long delicate labor, and so for Galadriel he made the greatest of his works save the 3 rings only, and it is said that more subtle and clear was the green gem that he made than that of Eärendil, but yet its light had less power, For whereas that of Eregion was lit by the sun in its youth, already many years had passed ere Celebrimbor began his work, and nowhere in Middle-earth was the light as clear as it had been. For though Morgoth had been thrust out into the void and could not enter again, his far shadow lay upon it. Radiant nonetheless was the Elessar of Celebrimbor, and he set it within a great brooch of silver in the likeness of an eagle rising upon outspread wings. Soon a being in a fair disguise, calling himself Thanatar, visits the realm of Eregion, offering counsels and teaching to the Gwaith-i-Mírdain. Here ends the second part of the life of Celebrimbor. In the next and last episode, we'll continue with a story more familiar to the fans of Middle-earth, the forging of the Rings of Power, Celebrimbor's collaboration with Thanatar, the Lord of Gifts, and more. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one on the homely house, Namarie.